Hello friends, I welcome you to this new class. So let's come together, learn together and acquire more knowledge, especially about on the earth where we are living. And the last class, I hope you remember what we have been studying. We are talking about the northern plains. We studied about the great Himalayas, and just below the Himalaya begins the plains, the northern plains, which was a valley before, then filled after millions of years. The river continuously carried a lot of pebbles and silt and sand and alluvium soil and created this great plain called the northern plains. So let us continue from where we stopped yesterday. You can follow in your textbook, page number 12. So the Ganga plain extends between Ghar and Kveta rivers. These the rivers. So the plain called Ganga plain. We said three rivers are bringing the soil into this northern plain. That is Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra. So the Ganga plain, so that area near the river Ganga is known as Ganga plain. So that extends between Gagar and Teesta rivers. Gagar and Teesta rivers. Between these rivers, the place known as Ganga plain. Then it is spread over the states of North India, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, and Jharkhand and West Bengal to its east. Particularly in Assam lies Brahmaputra plain. So this Ganga plain is very large and it is extending to many states, especially the northern India like UP, Haryana, Delhi, and Bihar. These four states are fully in the Ganga plain. Then some areas of Bengal and Jharkhand also this Ganga plain is extending. So much of enlargement is there. Then Brahmaputra, the third river is Brahmaputra, and that is creating the plain only in Assam, mainly in Assam it is creating the plain. Then the northern plains are generally described as flat land with no variation in its relief. So when we hear the name, the northern plain, suddenly the idea that comes to our mind is it is a plain land, there is no relief at all. That means there is no variation at all, it's completely plain. So that idea is not true. There is a lot of variations are also there, the soils are also different from area to area. So these vast plains also have diverse relief features. So there is, this area is very vast and it has got diverse relief features are there. The top part is not same, the topography is not same, it is up and down. Then according to the variations in the relief features, the northern plain can be divided into four regions. So we said the entire northern plain is not same. It has got a lot of reliefs, and based on the relief, based on the structure, we can say the topography, we can divide it into four regions. So we said the Himalayas are there in the arch shape. So the Himalayas are there, the second range and the third range. So these are the three ranges of Himalayas, and below that the Indus river is flowing here and the Ganges river is flowing here and the Brahmaputra river is flowing here in the northeast. So these rivers are bringing a lot of So all this area is plain. All this area below the mountain, that's a northern plains. And we can say this area can be divided into four. So just below the mountain, next to mountain, one area. Then below that, another area. Then third and the fourth. So we can divide the northern plain into four areas. The first one is the rivers after descending from the mountains deposit pebbles in a narrow belt of 8 to 16 kilometers in wide, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivalik. Shivalik is the third range of the Himalaya in Shivalik. So below Shivalik, between 8 to 16 kilometers long. So the distance is here 8 to 16. So the distance is 8 to 16. From 8 to 16 kilometers, lot of pebbles are there. So when the water comes down with the river from the top, the the top part is very steep, therefore the water is flowing very fast. And when it is reaching the foothills, the lower part, the slope is less, therefore the speed of the water becomes less. And therefore what happens? The big particles, the big pebbles and stones are left here because the water does not have enough force to carry them. So they are deposited here. So first 8 to 16 kilometers, these big stones and pebbles are deposited here. That is what you will find in the first part of the northern plain, that is close to the mountain. Then what happens? These pebbles, the rivers are coming, the streams are coming, and when they reach at this northern plain, what happens? They are disappeared. They go down into the, because it is pebble, it cannot absorb water, it will go down, it cannot hold the water. Water will go down into the, under the pebbles, and for 16 kilometers they will be flowing under the pebbles. Then at the end of the 16 kilometers they will come up again, because then the nice thick soil is there, the water cannot flow under the soil. Under the stone water can flow, but under the soil water cannot flow. So then the river will come up again and it will start flowing on top of the soil. So that is a very wonderful thing to see there. So this place is called Babar. So this first part of the northern plain, which is 8 to 16 kilometers long, that place is known as Babar. What will you find in the Babar? You will find only stones and pebbles. Then all the streams disappear in this Babar belt, and south of this belt, the streams and rivers re-emerge and create a wet, swampy and marshy region known as Terai. So the second part is called Terai. And what is the specialty of this second part? So we said the streams are disappearing in the beginning of the Babar, and at the end of the Babar, the streams are coming up again, and so this place is always filled with water because all the streams are coming out from here. Therefore, all this Terai region will be filled with water. It is a marshy land. It is a watery land. So water comes there and always remain there. And so it is a swampy and marshy land. Then this was a thickly forested region full of wildlife. So olden times, this Terai region was full of wild animals and forest. The forest was very thick because there is plenty of water available there. All the trees were growing so nicely, and since it is a very thick forest, a lot of wild animals were there. But after getting independence, the Indian government cleared all that forest. All that forest was cut away. Why? Because after the partition, lot of people were chased out from Pakistan. Especially the Hindus, they were persecuted. The Christians, they were persecuted. The Pakistan preferred only Muslim people to stay there. All the rest were chased out. And so India was welcoming all the people who are coming to India. So there was no place for the people to stay, just newly coming out from the Pakistan. So they were allowed to stay here in this marshy place. So the trees were cut down and naturally the animals all disappeared, and that place was given for these people to make their house and stay there. And now there is a Dudhwa National Park in this region. So if you go now, you will find National Park is there. So all those animals might have been accommodated there in this national park. Then the third part, and that is the largest part. The largest part of the northern plain is formed of older alluvium. So the oldest part or the largest part, that is the third part, it is formed with older alluvium. So alluvium can be older and newer. What is older? What is newer? So from where is alluvium soil coming out? It is coming out from the mountain top together with the river. Every year when there is a flood, the river is carrying a lot of alluvium soil. And so this soil, what is coming out every year, it is fresh one, new soil. And what was brought previous year, that was old alluvium soil. So this part, the third part, is containing lot of old alluvium soil, and they lie above the floodplains of the rivers and the present a terrace-like feature. This part is known as Bangar. So this third part is known as Bangar. So that is, so what is the Bangar consist of? It is consisting of the old alluvial soil which is brought down the previous years by the river, and this soil in this region contains calcareous deposits locally known as Kangar. So in this region, Bangar, what will you find? What kind of soil you will find? You will find this soil in this region is calcareous. Calcareous means, or calcareous. Calcareous means soil containing calcium. Lot of calcium contents are there in that soil. That's why this soil is known as calcareous soil. And this soil locally known as Kankar. The name of the soil is Kankar. Kankar soil. What is the specialty of Kankar soil? It is containing a lot of calcium, or this is calcareous soil. Then the fourth part of the northern plain, and the younger deposits of the floodplains are called Kathar. So here the young or the new alluvial soil is deposited, and it is known as Kathar. Kathar. They are renewed almost every year and so fertile, thus ideal for intensive agriculture. So this fourth part, it is called Kathar, and they get new alluvium soil every year. When there is flood, the river brings a lot of fresh alluvium soil, and it is new, so they can go on cultivating. So this area is a place for intense cultivation because of receiving a lot of new alluvium soil. So the farmers will be able to cultivate nicely, will be able to get good crops. So this place is a place of intense cultivation. There is no place or no time place is vacant or the land is vacant, no following, always cultivated. So when one crop is over, another one will be cultivated. So one after another they go on cultivating so that the land is able to produce more. So these are the four divisions of northern plain. The area that is closer to the foothills of Shivalik is known as Barber, and the specialty of Barber is it is full of pebbles and stones, and when the streams enter here, the streams disappear. That means it is going down under the pebbles. If you pour some water in the sand, you know what will happen. The water simply goes down into the sand. And if you pour some water into the mud, it may not go down, it will remain on top. That is what actually happening here. So here a lot of pebbles are there. On top of the pebbles, water is not flowing, water is going down and flowing through under the pebbles. And this is 8 to 16 kilometers long. So after this 16 kilometers long, the pebbles are not there. So the streams will come up again and will start flowing on top of the soil. And because of that, the second region, Terai, is very marshy and swampy. It is a lot of watery place. And because of that, plenty of trees were growing there. It was a very thick forest. And in the forest, a lot of wild animals were also there. But when partition came, a lot of people were chased out from Pakistan, and India was welcoming those migrants. India never said don't enter here. So they were all welcomed. Though there was no place for them to stay, government cut down all those trees in this Terai region and accommodated the people there, inhabited the people there. And later they started one national park there to accommodate all those animals and so on. So that is Terai region. And this Terai, after the Terai region, there is third place. It is called Bangar. And Bangar, the specialty of Bangar is it is containing, the soil is containing lot of calcareous soil. That means the soil contains a lot of calcium minerals. And this soil is the old alluvium soil. They are not fresh, but they are old alluvium soil. And after that comes another one, the fourth area, that is called Kadhar. And the specialty of Kadhar is getting every year fresh alluvium soil. Fresh alluvium soil is good for cultivation and we get very good crop. Therefore, this area is a place of intense cultivation. Farmers are cultivating one crop after another. They go on cultivating it. So what is the difference between Bangar and Kadhar? So Bangar is having old alluvium soil and Kadhar is having new alluvium soil or young alluvium soil. That is a difference. So I hope you understood about the northern plains. Now then let us move on to the another part, that is the third physical division of India. The third physical division of India is the Peninsula Plateau. The Peninsula Plateau is the third physical geographic division or physiographic division of India. Let us just start with, and coming days we will study in detail. So the Peninsula Plateau is a tableland composed of all crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. So it is like a tableland. Table means little high, So it is not plain, but it is little higher than the plain. It's like a table, little highland. And what do we find in this Peninsula Plateau? We find it is composed of all the crystalline soil. The soil is all crystalline soil. Then igneous rocks. We studied earlier also what is igneous rocks. The rocks that come out after volcano and so on. That hot lava that comes out and later it becomes hard. That is called igneous rock. The rock that is formed out of this heat, out of fire, we can say. The volcanoes are full of fire, heat, and that becomes rock when it is cold. So that is called igneous rock. And also metamorphic rocks, the rocks that are not very hard. It keeps on getting shape, getting changed, getting powder, slowly is getting powder. So that is the specialty of this Peninsula Plateau. That is, it is formed of all crystalline and igneous and metamorphic rocks. And it was formed due to breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass. So we studied in the beginning of this lesson that many present day continents were one single landmass called Gondwana land. So this Peninsula Plateau also was part of that Gondwana land, and therefore we can say in India this Peninsula Plateau is the oldest landmass. The Himalaya is very new, very young, but this Peninsula Plateau is much older than the Himalayas and other parts of India. So this soil is very old soil. And the plateau has broad and shallow valleys and rounded hills. So what is the specialty of this plateau? It has got shallow valleys. The valleys that are shallow. Shallow means not very deep. So small valleys are there. And also it has got rounded hills. So there are hills going around the Peninsula Plateau. Not a hill that is going straight, but around this Peninsula Plateau there are small mountains are there. So that is a physical feature or specialty of this area. They have small and shallow valleys are there, and this area is surrounded by mountains as well, or hills. Then this plateau consisted of two broad divisions. This plateau is consisting of two broad divisions. We can divide them into two. Which are they? That is Central Highlands and Deccan Plateau. Another one is Central Highlands. Central Highlands. Another one is Deccan Plateau. So we can divide this Peninsula Plateau into two regions. One is the Central Highlands, another one is the Deccan Plateau. Then the part of the Peninsula Plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River, covering a major area of the Malwa Plateau, is known as Central Highlands. You can underline what is known as Central Highlands. What is the answer? The part of the Peninsula Plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River. There is a Narmada River flowing, and the northern part of this river, that area is known as Central Highlands. And this area is covering another plateau that is called Malwa Plateau. So the Central Highlands is including Narmada River and Malwa Plateau. Malwa Plateau also is included there. Then the Vidyan Range is bounded by the Central Highlands on the south and the Aravallis in the northwest. So the Vidyan Range is bounded by the Central Highlands on the south. So the south of this Central Highlands we will find which mountain? The Vidyan Range. That is a mountain, the name of the mountain. Vidyan Range of the mountain is covering the southern part of this Central Highlands. And what about the other side? Then on the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. So the Vidyan Range is bounded by the Central Highlands on the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. So the northern western side there is, what is there? The Aravalli mountains are there. So two mountains, one is Vidyan Range, another one is Aravalli mountains. So these are covering or protecting this Central Highlands. Then the further westward extension gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. So if you go further towards the west, what happens? This Central Highland is getting merged with Rajasthan desert. We are all very familiar with Rajasthan desert, isn't it? So this will get joined to the Rajasthan desert. So that is about the Central Highlands. So we shall wind up for today, and the next class we will study again about in detail about the Peninsula Plateau, the Central Highlands and the Deccan Plateau and so on. So I urge you to read your lessons nicely, don't just keep it close. So read your lessons nicely and read several times repeatedly, so that all these ideas, all these names, or you will have a certain idea about the land of India. Otherwise we live in this corner of the world or the corner of the country and we do not have any idea about other parts of the country. So at least by studying this you will have certain ideas about how the land shape, how the physical features of India are different from place to place and so on. So have a nice day. Bye.